I call the meeting to order at 6:34. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Berman,
Here.
trustee Luther,
Here.
trustee McNeil.
Here.
Trustee Pierce,
Present.
trustee Mason,
Here.
trustee Peterson,
Present.
Mayor Gurke.
Present. Mayoral report. We'll start with first, it's 2-1-1 day. We have Quentin Snodgrass, Vice President of Resource Development for United Way of Lake County, present. He would like to just address the board briefly and tell you about 2-1-1 day. And floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. So United Way of Lake County is really grateful to Mayor Gartner and the Board of Trustees for tonight's special recognition of 2-1-1 Day in Antioch. So we really want to thank you for partnering with us to help raise the awareness of this really important service. And for anyone who doesn't know, 2-1-1 is a free 24-hour information and referral hotline. It's available for any person in Lake County to call 24 hours a day. Since its launch just 4.5 years ago, 2-1-1 has made more than 250,000 connections for people in Lake County to get assistance that they need every day. This is help for anywhere from how do I help taking care of my aging parents to I'm a victim of domestic violence. It's 12 o'clock midnight. I have 2 kids in my car, and that's everything in my name. So it's helped hundreds of thousands of people across the United States, and is doing more and more every day in Lake County. And Antioch here in 6002 is in the top 6 communities that are leveraging this service. So any recognition that we get out about this service, the more people that know about it, the more people that can get help from it. So thank you very, very much for this great opportunity and for helping us spread the word here in Antioch and across Lake County. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And I believe we have a plaque here to give you in recognition of the 2-1-1 day. So here you go, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I also had a request from Ms. Rentner. Is she here tonight? Just an update on the Veterans Committee. She had been out with a health issue, had been scheduled to speak last week, but I'll summarize. She gave me an introduction that the Great Lakes Construction Association is a commercial construction industry of all the companies. There are currently over 200 members of contractors and subcontractors. The association takes pride in giving back to the communities they work in, giving away meals, construction of the 911 Memorial in Wakanda, Beacon Place, Wounded Warrior Home Build, and the Waukegan Airport Memorial. When the Great Lakes Construction heard about the Antioch Veterans Memorial, they thought it would be a great project to take part in and giving back this year. And since the immediate past president, Josh Bowler, and the executive vice president, Tim Marabella, along with other members that live in the community, they cannot think of a better project to work on. By partnering with Great Lakes Construction, they will coordinate the construction and materials, and they will donate service, materials, and equipment needed for the construction for parts of the project. For example, they'll ask for members to donate tree clearing, stone supply, etc. In the past projects, they teamed up with Lake County Building Trades and worked to donate trade labor. By asking the members to donate the services within Lake County, they were able to drastically reduce the cost for the project. To date, the Great Lakes Association sent a flyer out to their members informing them of this project. The soil borings were done courtesy of SRN testing, civil drawings by Manhard Consulting, structural drawings from Strand and Associates, and managing and supervision of the project from Bowler Construction, the trucking of stone from Keyshaw for truck services, and gravel supplied by Thielen Sand and Gravel. They reached out to the building trades of Lake County and to see if they would like to donate any labor. In addition, in the coming months, they'll be reaching out to members more frequently to request other donations, and they want to thank the Antioch Veteran Memorial Committee and the Village of Antioch for involving them in the project. And again, I just want to thank them for their donation of their time and services to the project. All right, that's it for the mayoral reports. Next, we have citizens wishing to address the board. We'll pass that down to the Madam Clerk. No, just the list.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I have 4 people signed up and 1 person crossed out their names. So make sure if anybody still would like to speak, now's the last chance. Village attorney will read the ground rules for addressing the board.
Procedure for public comment at board meetings. The opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have comment to make about business of the board. The board appreciates hearing from stakeholders and values your thoughts and questions. The board strives to make the best decisions for the village, and public input is very helpful. The board must protect the civility and decorum of this meeting. Please be respectful for the duties of the board and the democratic processes in your comments tonight. Please state your name and address and address your comments to the board. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please be factual and courteous. And the board requests that you not make statements that are personally disrespectful or condescending to members of the board or staff. To the extent multiple speakers are addressing a single issue, the mayor or chair of the meeting reserves the right to limit the number of speakers making public comment of a repetitive nature and or limit the amount of time for public comment. The board does not respond to public comments or attempt to answer questions during the public comment period. Please silence your cell phones as well. Additionally, in Illinois, as in many jurisdictions, there are protocols for handling disturbances during public meetings. The key principles for addressing such issues typically revolve around maintaining order and ensuring the meeting can proceed effectively while respecting the legal rights of all attendees. If an individual is causing a disturbance, the presiding officer of the meeting issues a warning requesting that the person cease his or her disruptive behavior. This is the first step as it addresses the issue without immediately resorting to a necessary removal because of a disturbance. The village does have established rules and bylaws that dictate how disturbances are to be handled. This includes specific steps and actions to be taken when someone is disrupting a meeting. As stated before, speaking time is limited in meetings to 3 minutes. When the trustees, for example, are given the ability to speak, they are limited to 2 times to speak. They respect this, and the public is expected to respect these rules as well. If the disruptive behavior continues despite warnings, the individual may be removed from the meeting. The authority to order such removal rests with the presiding officer of the meeting and is generally assented to by the board. The actual removal will be carried out by security personnel or law enforcement present here tonight. Thank you, officers, for being here. It is important to note that any action taken to address disturbances must comply with legal standards, including respect for the freedom of speech and assembly. These rights do not extend to actions that significantly disrupt the meeting or prevent the conduct of public business. Incidents of disruption and the actions taken in response are generally documented in the meeting minutes. This serves as an official record of what transpired, which can be important if there are subsequent disputes or legal challenges. The Open Meetings Act discovers the conduct of public meetings. While the act primarily ensures that public business is conducted openly, it also implies the need for meetings to proceed in an orderly manner, free from undue disruptions. After the meeting, in the event of a severe or repeated disruption, further action may be taken post-meeting, such as filing a police report or issuing a ban from future meetings for a set period. Of course, we won't have to go into any of that tonight because we will all keep the peace and order. And Mr. Mayor, if we could call the first person.
Sure. Mr. Paul Green.
Green, 43225 North Trevor Road. I'm actually in the township, but I live right next door to one of your subdivisions. And all through the night, this past snowstorm, I could hear the blade of the snow trucks on the pavement. And I can tell you, it was reassuring and comforting to know that when I got up in the morning, I could get to the grocery store, I could get to the post office, I could get to my doctor's appointment. So I just want to thank Director Heimbro and Public Works for doing a job keeping our streets safe and clear of snow. The only problem I have, I got a really long drive.
All right, well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for that. All right, next is Sorry, I think it says, Dick Schulke. Okay. Hi, sir. The floor is yours.
First of all, yeah, mayor and trustee. I want to second what you said. You know, those guys did a great job. Outstanding. Thank you. I'm here to talk about snowmobiles in the city of Antioch. Saturday morning, I had my walk shoveled. Not perfect, but was shoveled. It wasn't down on a bare sidewalk. My neighbor comes with a snowmobile. He's going back and forth. Sidewalk, parkway, front lawn. Pretty soon, everything I shoveled and cleared was gone. I live on Depot Street, 185 Depot. That's between Rainier and yes, first. Yeah. Well, yeah, further this way. If that's not clear, folks are on the street. You know, they have to walk somewhere, and the street is not safe. They go way too fast down there. So I called the police for a courtesy call, and they responded. Good for them. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but what they said was, we can't help you. It's perfectly legal. It's a permitted use of sidewalks here in Antioch. So, you know, I'm here tonight to say, does that make sense? I did some preliminary research on Google. Looks like Libertyville has a simple, you know, one sentence ordinance against that type of behavior. And I'll be honest with you, makes no sense to me to have a high-speed motorized vehicle on a sidewalk in the wintertime, or maybe anywhere. Even if I've seen snowmobiles where there's like an inch of snow and they tear that turf up. And, you know, parks and recreation, you know, public works, that's the last thing they want to look at. So I would urge you folks, if you have time, to take a look at maybe some simple model legislation, give the police something to work with. And, you know, just make it easy for the rest of us. Thank you for hearing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next I have, apologize in advance, Amanda Mazurowski. Pretty close. All right. Okay.
Hi, I'm Amanda Majorowski. I live at 845 Woodland Drive in Woodland Ridge. I'm here today I am a member of our HOA board at Woodland Ridge. And over the past few years, we've been noticing, or at least since I've lived there, we've been noticing really yellow water, like brown, yellow, and it's bad. I've called Public Works a couple times. I actually called them today too, just to kind of talk to them. They're very nice, Sherry. Over the last couple years, I kind of stayed, hey, listen, it's probably a water heater issue. It's not. I did a quick survey in our subdivision just today at 3 o'clock. There's only over 25 people that have had issues with yellow water, probably within the last decade. It's on and off. It's sporadic. It's out of cold water. It's your toilet water. It can happen first thing in the morning. It can happen late at night. Really what they want us to do is to call them when it's there, and they'll have somebody come out. My neighbor a couple doors down at 827 Woodland Ridge did call them in the summer, and Public Works was nice. They came out, they looked at everything. They agreed that it was yellow. It shouldn't be like that. They looked at their water heater. Their water heater's fine. They looked at their water softener. The water softener was fine. They tried to bypass it to see if that would change. It doesn't change. It's just really disgusting and nasty. I have tons of pictures. I have videos of it. They say it's safe, but honestly, if I were to hand you, you know, a glass of water that looks like lemonade and tell you, oh, sure, you want to drink this? I don't think you would. Or if you want to bathe your child in it, feed your animals. So this is just something that we are bringing up that we're going to look into that I think is a big concern. It is sporadic. It's throughout here in Harbor, Woodland Ridge. So it's not just on one street. And again, just today from posting 2 hours ago, I have over 25 people that have said this has been a problem. So just wanted to bring it up, and that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us know.
Can we get testing kits?
I'm sure we can, yeah, I'm sure we can talk, yeah. Next, person is, Lennon Berrigan.
Good evening. Lenin Berrigan, 42279 North Park Place. This is my public statement. On May 10, 2023 at 1:06 p.m., Scott Garner, mayor of Antioch, Illinois, calls me, the defendant, Lenin D. Berrigan, and leaves me a voicemail asking him to call him back and stating falsely that I have been in person issuing threats at his public office, at the village hall, in his private practice at Merit Law Group, and demands I refrain and stop from doing that again. The accusation is false. I have never been to the Antioch's village hall nor Garner's private office. False statements by a public official, defamation, and harassment. The transcript of the voicemail is in my possession. Number two, May 10, 2023, 1:40 p.m., the defendant calls the mayor back per his request. Only this time, an Antioch Police Department officer, March number 27, answers the phone, doubling down on the mayor's false accusation by stating that I was there at these public and private offices issuing threats, and to refrain from doing so again. March number 27 files a false police report based on this incident, stating on other unrelated non-facts and claiming a body-worn camera has been used. False accusations reports by two public officials, March number 27 and his superior, the mayor, Scott Garner, who used these false statements to abuse power, corruption, harass, defame, and unsuccessfully attempting to intimidate my family. May 10, 2023, 2:21 p.m., the defendant emails Chief of Antioch's PD, Jeff Gutsko, to notify the chief of the account of these incidents and harassment, which had taken place, and providing the chief with a copy of the voicemail by his mayor boss in an effort to have an investigation done over these falsehoods in attacks against the defendant by his mayor/boss and one of his officers, number 27. The chief never replied nor followed up on the incidents, dereliction of duties, cover-up of his superior, and officer corruption. Number four, November 28, 2023, 1:15 p.m., given an ongoing lawsuit, civil lawsuit represented and led by the mayor, full accusations and more harassment attempts against land, home, properties of my family and I, the defendant decided to reach the attorney for the village of Antioch, Matthew DeMartini, notifying him of what his mayor, chief, and officer had done against us, and to, in good faith, talk to his mayor and the village board of trustees so we may amicably sit down and stop the attacks and settle with me and my family, to what he refused. I only have 18 seconds. There's 7 more points. I will post them at Digital Productions at HDR.
You may finish.
Thank you. November 5, December 6, 2023. 12:56 p.m., 6 months after the original incident, I, the defendant, received an email by Antioch's Internal Affairs Commander Charles Smith, asking for my account of the incident. I, the defendant, emailed back on the same day, and on the day after, December 7th, 2023, Commander Smith and the defendant joined a phone conversation, which should be on your records, asking for my account of the incident, apologizes to me and my family for the damages, emotional distress these have caused us, and assures me that neither the mayor, the chief, March number 27, nor his officers at Antioch PD will harass, attack, nor try to intimidate my family any longer. The commander gives me his word about calling me back the following Monday with any updates after addressing the board, trustees, and the rest involved in these matters, and I quote, no matter the outcome, which he failed to do as well. Dereliction of duties, cover-up, abuse of power. December 12, 2023, 0.6, 1:32 p.m. I, the defendant, emailed the mayor, chief, commander, and board of trustees of the village of Antioch and notifies them of all the incidents mentioned above with all the officials under their supervision in another effort to protect my family and myself for the sake of public transparency and in good faith, so we may meet and sit down via Zoom, meeting publicly or privately to discuss the matters and amicably resolve by finding peaceful common ground. The Board of Trustees completely ignored my notification of the facts and peaceful request, cover up, abuse of power, corruption, dereliction of duties. Number 7, December 18, 2023. After requesting a FOIA report of all the police and officials' reports regarding my person by the Antioch Police Department and elected officials, I received one report from Lori Romin, clerk of the village of Antioch. This one report was false, states BWC body-worn camera was used and the report was heavily blacked out. I, the defendant, replied on December 19, 2023, 12:07 p.m., telling the clerk to send me all my reports and not the only one false report she sent, especially after Commander Smith told me over the phone that Chief Gotsko did a report on me as well. The clerk proceeded to ignore the email, cover up corruption, blocking my constitutional rights to receive all my FOIA reports and violating my rights. Number 8, December 30, 2023, 5 a.m. approximately, I, the defendant, gets arrested by Antioch Police Officer Broussard, number 23, and 2 other unknown officers of Antioch PD and falsely charged with 3 misdemeanors: resisting arrest, criminal trespassing, and obstruction of a peace officer, to what I declare I am not guilty and currently defending on a pro se basis. False accusations, charges, harassment, defamation. Number 9, December 31st, 2023, 9:30 a.m. I, the defendant, emailed the mayor, chief board of trustees, attorney for the city, and clerk, and leaves them with the account of what have occurred. On December 30th, email is ignored. Cover up, corruption, dereliction of duties by all the officials, from the mayor to the chief, the commander, the clerk, and everyone in between. Number 10, January 10th, 2024, 7:44 p.m. The defendant, I, while trying to join a public village hall meeting via Zoom, emailed all the officials and clerk while the meeting was ongoing, because they were violating my First Amendment constitutional right by directly and knowingly in real time blocking me from the meeting, from speaking, and from exercising my First Amendment right, whereas I was intending to give these very accounts of all the attacks and harassment from the officials and officers involved. Violation of my constitutional rights. Number 11, at court yesterday, the state's attorney's office requested a motion to not contact and keep distance from Mayor Garner, Antioch Police Department Chief, and board based on the false accusations of my physical presence. False accusations of my physical presence at the mayor of Antioch's public and private offices, and of threats against these officials. The judge granted the motion, but could not go above federal law and blocked me from exercising my First Amendment constitutional right of free speech in a public setting in the people's house, by and for the people. And therefore, here I am exercising those rights. I, the defendant, Lenin D. Berrigan, leave these accounts for the facts for the public in the people's hall and on the record, and will proceed to attend in person the next village of Antioch Village Hall public meeting, which is tonight, and address the public, board members, and officials with written above statement, following court orders and exercising my constitutional rights on the same token. After the statement of the facts is read, I will proceed to file a civil rights lawsuit against the village hall, elected officials, officers, and those involved in these serious matters within the city of Antioch. As the date state, instead of attacking and harassing families like mine, the mayor and all these officials should have been inspecting properly the Antioch's fair rights last summer, where unfortunately a child got badly hurt, and for whom our prayers and thoughts continue, instead of coming after hardworking families, my family. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Is there any request to remove any of those items? All right, if not,
Make a motion to approve as presented.
motion trustee Bluthart,
Second.
second trustee Peterson, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. On to the regular business agenda, consideration and approval of payments of accounts payable as prepared by staff in the amount of $1,014,072.25. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion trustee Berman,
Second.
second trustee McNeil. Discussion on this item,
Can we just have a rundown of some of
the big ones?
yeah.
Um, Mr. Gutchow, I will note that I did speak to, there was one slight change on the payables related to the clarifier where it's, I think, $25,000 less on a holdback. Okay.
Outside of routine expenses, really the bulk of the increase in the payables is a result of the insurance payment to Gallagher for our general liability insurance.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Item number 6 on the agenda is consideration and approval of a resolution increasing the annual amount paid under the contract for prosecution of traffic violations, DUIs, and ordinance violations to $60,000 annually. Resolution number 24-09. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion trustee Masek,
Second.
second trustee Bluthart. Any discussion about this item or questions? All right, roll call, please.
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Item number 7, discussion, fact finding, and potential final action regarding the possible censure of trustee Berman based on the 110-24 committee of the whole meeting, resolution 24-10. This is as discussed and requested on the January 10th committee of the whole meeting by trustee Masek. I'm going to have attorney Vasselli discuss the ground rules for this.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before you tonight, the resolution is actually captioned a resolution censuring trustee Patrina Berman of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Antioch, Illinois. There is also prepared, if necessary, a resolution not censuring trustee Berman. A censure, we are governed as a body by both local code, Robert's Rules of Order, where local code is not controlling, and both case and statutory law from both as applicable state and federal authorities. So a censure, and this is reading directly from Robert's Rules. A censure is to reprimand a member with hopes of reforming him or her so that he or she will not behave in the same way again. It requires a second. It is amendable. It is debatable. It requires a majority vote. It cannot be reconsidered. The result of the motion is that the member is put on notice that if he or she repeats the offense, he or she can be, additional sanctions can be added as applicable. And under Illinois law, you cannot remove someone, even though that's in Robert's Rules. This is an incidental main motion and can be made only when no other business is pending. All subsidiary and incidental motions can be applied to this motion. The member or officer being censured may come to his or her own defense during the debate, but cannot vote. A roll call vote is required as we have one trustee operating online. A member cannot be censured twice for the same offense. Members can be censured for misconduct at meetings, violating confidentiality, moral misconduct outside the meeting, absenteeism, bribery, fraud, lying, disloyalty, working against the organization, conspiracy, and violating other values the organization holds dear. That's not an allegation with regards to what we're at tonight. Again, I am just reading directly from Robert's Rules. And we do have a code of conduct policy. A motion to censure a member can occur in 2 circumstances. If the chair has named the person as a result of that person's board behavior, a member can make the motion to censure when the chair asks for a penalty. Second, if a member knows of another person's bad behavior and wants to bring it to the attention of the assembly in the form of a motion to censure, that can be done under new business or under part of an agenda called for the good of the order. Tonight, we are here on an agenda that has been called. Recently, the United States of the Supreme Court, Justice Neil Gorish, wrote an opinion with regards to censures from 2022 in a case referred to as, or captioned, Houston Community College System Petitioner versus David Burr and Wilson. It is admittedly a narrow order, again, that Justice Gorish delivered the report of the court, the opinion. And just by way of background, it states, Elected bodies in this country have long exercised the power to censure their members. No one before us, meaning the parties, the appellant and the appellee, has cited any evidence suggesting that a purely verbal censure analogous to Mr. Wilson's has ever been widely considered offensive to the First Amendment. Justice Gorish is pronouncing that correctly. Opinion goes on to state the censure at issue before us was a form of speech by elected representatives. It concerned the public conduct of another elected representative. Everyone involved was an equal member of the same deliberative body. As it comes to us too, the censure did not prevent Mr. Wilson, who was the defendant in the initial matter, or the plaintiff in the initial matter, the person being censured, from doing his job. It did not deny him of any privilege of office, and Mr. Wilson does not allege it was defamatory. Again, that's just by background, by way of censure. So I think that does anyone have any questions at this point in time with regards to the procedures or processes or what a censure is?
I just have a quick one. I just want to make sure that I know exactly what is involved in regards to this. And is my biggest issue is I want to make sure we're fair to all sides and all parties on this. In regards to any fact finding and so forth, this isn't like a court of law where it has, or is it, in regards to finding the facts of the censor? Or is it up to each individual trustee to determine if the violation occurred?
It is not like, and Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
It is not like a court of law. There is not, when we deal with courts of law, whether we see them in fact or fiction, we hear of burdens of proof and procedures of evidence and rules of evidence that need to be followed. That is not the case here. Again, drawing from Justice Gorish's opinion, the censure is a matter where one member of a body, the censure is a form of speech by elected representatives and concerns the public conduct of another representative. They are matters that can be defended by the person who is being alleged to have violated the proverbial code of conduct, the ethical code that has now been brought into codification through the ordinances. So no. Is it analogous in so much that as stated in Robert's rules, the member or officer being censured may come to his or her own defense? Absolutely. So the person being censured can obviously speak out and say, I should not be censured theoretically for this reason, or this did not happen and this should not be applied to me.
Yeah. One more is, before I was on this board, I know that there was an issue with the prior board in regards to a censor that was issued by this board that was then overruled by the state, that was handled improperly. To your knowledge, have we done everything properly at this point regarding notification, everything that needs to be done so that we don't run into any issues like that moving forward?
I wish I could tell the future to say we would not run into any issues, but with all seriousness, yes. The problem with the last censure was that it was not placed on
Your Honor,
the agenda.
Can we just be clear? The last event was not a censure. It was an attempt at a reprimand, but it was not a censure. It was not listed as a censure.
Mr. Chair, if I could make it just the last analogous action by this board. Is that fair, Trustee Pierce?
That's fair.
Okay. So the last analogous action by this board was challenged before the open meeting, before the Illinois Attorney Generals, and specifically, before the Illinois Attorney General, and specifically before their public access counselor. In that instance, there was an error made on the agenda, and it was advised and put on the agenda in an improper manner through no fault of our village clerk. They said that the public did not have the sufficient awareness of what was occurring on that evening. If you look at tonight's agenda, I'll just read, because I would like a clear record of all this. I will read the action item. Discussion, fact-finding, and potential final action regarding the possible censure of Trustee Berman based on the 1/10/24 Committee of the Whole meeting. No, I'm not reading the resolution. I'm merely addressing the trustee's question before we get into the motion in a second, if they are made. Out of an abundance of caution, because this board has suffered because of an error made in the past, I did call the public access counselor, and I spoke to a public access counselor, assistant attorney general, they will never give an opinion, neither in writing nor orally, whether something is correct. But I did speak to the person, and the person said that they had no problem with it based upon the facts that I provided them. So not only in my 20 years of practicing municipal law do I think that this complies with the Open Meetings Act, I did speak to the regulatory agency, and I'm not saying they won't opine on it, but I'm not concerned after having the conversation.
Questions? Any other questions? All right, so this is item number 7. Is there a motion and a second to bring this to the floor?
I will make the motion to bring this to the floor for the potential censure of trustee Berman.
Motion trustee Pierce. Is there a second? Second trustee Masek. So open the discussion.
So the attorney is not the prosecutor in this matter. So a person who believes that the offensive action took place would need to essentially state why they believe that there should be a censure in this matter. Again, I am serving here as the parliamentarian. I am not a prosecutor. This is not a prosecutorial matter. This is a determination if the rest of the board believes that another board member, Steve Berman in this case, acted afoul of her office.
Um,
We'll
any,
just open it.
any trustees want to open the discussion?
Well, I'd like to state that this was brought up and put on this agenda for a request by trustee Masek. So I would ask that he explain why he wanted this on the agenda, and we can go from there.
Trustee Masek?
Me on the spot. Well, I don't think anything has to do with speech. This is all about good government. The whole thing was, there was a letter asking this type of behavior to kind of stop. I think everybody that sits on this board asked the behavior to kind of simmer down. What kind of struck me to ask this to be put on there is when businesses started getting posted. And when businesses started getting posted on the page and things started getting commingled between personal and business, meaning so we started getting away from good government. Not saying, not getting any farther. Our mission of good government has been skewed. I think we got off track of what we're doing for good government, and looking at the code of ethics and what we're all about, I think we should all strive in being good government. And we do a lot of great things up here. And when we reach doing intergovernment agreements, which we got the school, we got to work with the fire department. Good government's all about is working with other governments. Good government's working with other businesses. It's about, being a good person, being that above and beyond. And it's hard to negotiate good government when you got other distractions going on. And I get the whole thing. I get it. But there was so much distractions, kindling wood kept going on. And regardless, it's not just one party. It came from all sides of just stop. It's not, it's just not one person. It's just everybody. Just please, you take my word, just please stop. We're trying to accomplish some great things in Antioch, building parks, bringing businesses in, and the distractions on Facebook is just an evil presence. It's just evil. And when we try to do good things, and I read a page, someone says we're public servants. We're not. We're elected officials. We try to do the best things to make Antioch a brighter future. We work hard. We volunteer our time. We don't get paid anything up here to be up here. We take time away from our families. We do other things. We strive for doing great things for Antioch. We bring business in for people to enjoy. We're building a park, good government, and distractions, the code of ethics, the distractions just have to stop from everybody. It becomes when you sit on here, and Trustee Pierce has been on the longest, it becomes you served on here, prior mayors, and you serve on here, and it becomes that everything someone does for good government, the Facebook makes it just an illusion of what everybody's done, past mayors, past trustees. It diminishes what people have accomplished. It's just terrible. And when this chatter, this just nonsense chatter goes on. And when I see stuff going on, it's just silliness. And I get some of it. I just don't get a lot of it. It's just more kindling wood, put on kindling wood. You know, it's just not good government. That's the whole point. Why we have code of ethics, just to be the better person. That's why it was brought. That help explains the whole scenario. But everybody's just, don't make anything you do in life an illusion. Facebook's an evil entity, and it just makes for everybody doing good an illusion in life. It's just this sad situation. We got a lot of hardworking staff, especially hardworking people. The officers, hardworking people. I see posts sometimes with the fire department. It's just those people risk their lives. The police department risks their lives on a daily basis. It's just disheartening. Just disheartening. We should strive for better government and praise the people, not trash the people. Just not good government.
All right, thank you. Anybody else comment? All right, Trustee McNeil.
Okay. So I hate that we even have to have this discussion. I've thought long and hard about this. Serving on the board has really been a privilege and an honor, and I've learned that it is such a heavy responsibility, more so than I would have ever even imagined when I was running. I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? Every meeting, there's 600 pages of agenda items, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm always like, Lord, can we trim this down a little bit? So we constantly are faced with these just never ending challenging issues. And we've all been elected and entrusted to really try to make the best decisions for the common good of the village. And I think all of us have the goal to try to make, continue to make Antioch a good place to work and to live and be a welcoming community. And the tough part about this issue is I do believe that everyone on this board is entitled to their own opinions and thoughts, both in a public and a personal capacity. We're all people. This is a democratic government. But the tricky part is that serving in this capacity does come with the responsibility, of acting with respect and integrity. And when I joined the board, Trustee Berman has been nothing but respectful and professional in her interactions with me personally. We've all been able to accomplish things, at least since I've been on the board with her, and I've got, no personal issue. But when these things have been brought to our attention, it seems like there are these distractions, as Trustee Masek said, outside of what we're doing as a village board together, with collaborating with Trustee Berman, and our positions do require kind of this extension of proper decorum, even outside the boardroom. And some of the information presented to us, does lead me to believe that perhaps maybe, there is a difference between voicing some of her own opinions, which she has every right to do, and are we crossing the line into maybe becoming less than professional? And sometimes there's some antagonistic, comments back and forth from both sides of the matter. So it's a really difficult position to be in, because I'd like to see us all continue to work as a board, together collaboratively. We might not all agree on things, but since I've been on, all of us have been respectful to one another. But there's this constant background noise and constant emails from concerned citizens. And we've got so much to do, as I was saying, with our 600-page agendas, that it seems to be slowing down the process. And I would just like to move forward in a positive, manner with everybody here. So that was really my comment that I wanted to share. I don't want to be here. I don't even want to be talking about this, but I do want to move forward in a positive light with everybody, including trustee Berman, and just kind of cut out that background. Let's just be professional and do what we were elected to do.
Your-
Trustee Peterson.
When you run for an office, like it or not, you're held to a higher standard. You are a leader in the community, whether you like it or not. You put your name on a ballot and you raise your right hand and you swear that you're going to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the state of Illinois. And those laws do mean the laws of the Village of Antioch. And we do have codes of conduct, and we are held to that high standard. There are times that I could scream to the top of my lungs because I don't agree with something, or I vote no on something and my colleagues vote yes. Okay, that the majority rules. I don't like it, but you just take a deep breath and you square your shoulders and you move forward. We don't always win. We don't always get our way. We don't always like what people say. And that we learn this in kindergarten. We learn this at home. These are things that you live your life by, at least in a civilized society. But when you are an elected official, the people who elect you count on you to be that person. They sleep better at night knowing that their elected officials have things well in hand. When there are arguments on something like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever they call it now, it makes people feel uneasy. It makes people feel like, do they really know what's going on? I mean, did we elect this person? Why? Why did we do this? It makes them nervous. There's a lot going on, even beyond Antioch, on the federal level, on the state level in Springfield, making people nervous. But when it comes to your own hometown, and this is a great place because you all came here to just see what we're saying. We are approachable to you. I can run into you at the Jewel. You can stop me at any time and ask me a question, or, give me an opinion. I don't like what's going on. And I put my name on that ballot. So you get to do that. No matter where I am, in a restaurant, I'm standing out there at a parade. No matter where I am, I said I would do this. So I have to behave myself. And there's some times when I really don't want to. People say mean things about me. They've lied about me. They've said terrible things about me over the years. This is my second term. I had a term in the early 2000s. And it hurt me terribly when people would say these things. But there's nothing I could do about it. Now there's social media. So I could, if someone says something about me, put it all over my Facebook. But then there's that thing, there's that code of conduct, there's that I raised my right hand and I said that I would be this person. So you step back, you take a deep breath. You don't like it, but you have to move forward. We are held to a higher standard. And this back and forth, he said, she said, we said, they said, it makes the entire community uneasy. Like Trustee Masick said, it's bad government. It's bad form. That's why we're here tonight. I hate this. I really do. This is not the part of the job that I like. Trustee Berman is my colleague, and as Trustee McNeil stated, she has been completely professional and dealing with the business at hand at the village. She's a fantastic colleague. But that's not why we're here. It's just been, I believe, almost 3 years of back and forth and back and forth between another elected body. And it has divided this community. And it needs to stop. And we're hoping that this does stop it. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. You want you to say something? Okay.
So thank you, Trustee Peterson. I just want to add on to what Trustee Peterson said, that in resolution number 2016, titled "A Resolution Adopting a Code of Behavior and Conduct for Village Elected Officials," elected and appointed officials, and that is the Code of Conduct, which has items with regards to guidelines for behavior, acting in the public interest, compliance with law, conduct of public officials, respect for process, and conduct of public meetings. I will not bore the board any more than I already have tonight. But that I will say that in the resolution before you tonight, you will see 5 recitals, starting with the third, that discusses the law and adopts and refers to the code of conduct in the resolution before you tonight, and discusses that pursuant to section 3.1-10-40, the corporate authorities can adopt rules with regards to their own body. Thank you.
I think I
You're
heard
on.
Trustee Pierce on Zoom.
Yeah, you did hear me on Zoom. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, Trustee Pierce.
First of all, I want to thank Trustee Berman for showing up tonight because I know it's going to be a hard night for her. I've been at board meetings where I've had to apologize and I've had to admit that I was wrong. So I know how hard it is when you're being confronted at a board meeting publicly. So I appreciate her being here. That it takes a brave person to do that. I remember right after Trustee Berman, I mean, we can make this all about good government. We could make this all about Facebook. We could make this about how painful it is, because it is painful for all of us, including her. But I remember when Trustee Berman first got elected, and there was great hopes. Life was moving forward. We were going to have butterflies and happiness, and children in schools having a good time, and everything was going to be great and wonderful. And we've actually really accomplished a lot over the last 3 years on this board. As Trustee Masick says, there's parks going in, there's roads getting plowed, as Paul Green says. So there are good things happening in Antioch. But at the same time, years when she first got elected, and they started the masking issues. She asked me, "What can I do? What can I do?" And I'm like, "You have the right to speak up. That is your right to speak up, and say you don't agree and that you don't want masking." I said, "You are an elected official, and it will be hard to do, but you have the same right as everybody else to speak up." And over the course of the last 3 years, she has spoken up, and she's made a lot of people very angry. And at the same time, people have alluded to, other people in the community have spoken up against her and made other people angry. But we're not here to talk about the people speaking against her. We're here to talk about her actions. And if we're just talking good government or the code of ethics, I mean, the code of conduct or the ethics ordinance or whatever, we have to look at what we actually feel has been violated. And to me, if it was just a First Amendment item, I would be voting no on censure because she has the right to speak up. But as I go throughout the community, going to Jewel or restaurants, I have people approaching me, telling me they're scared of the Antioch government. They're scared to open their emails or their voices and say things and to make confrontations take place. People in Antioch should not be scared. And the things that have made them scared are what has been put on Twitter or Facebook names being put out there in an attempt to find out who's saying what, businesses being doxxed, and the person's livelihoods, professional ability to do their job and feed their families have been imperiled at times over the last 3 years by the actions of both sides. You know, and honestly, I think Trustee Berman started off with a good heart and good reasoning and wanted to fight the good fight. Um, I think she's received probably some bad advice from individuals who probably should be up here right beside her being censored too, but we can't censor them. Instead, they'll sit back and let her take all the pain, which I think is wrong. So um, my whole concern tonight is the fact we have a town where people are scared of their government. And they're scared of their government because of the actions over the last 3 or 4 years by one of our trustees who, in her belief of fighting the good fight, I think has crossed the line. She's if you go look at the code of conduct, there has been I think, in my opinion, violations of how she's dealt with public officials. There's been information that may or may not legally have been put out there, and people have been improperly confronted, and it's up to the board as a whole to determine how to handle that. I mean, but we all have to be quite honest. Even if we censor Trustee Berman and she feels she's doing the good fight, she will continue to do the good fight because she's brave enough to be here tonight. She's brave enough to continue doing her fight. And so we can tell her and advise her, join us on this board and be a good part of our good government, as Trustee Masick says, or go fight the good fight. But we as a board cannot support the measures that have been taken in this fight for what you believe is right. And that is to me the basis of why we would censor her tonight if we censor her. And so it's up to the board to make a decision. The motion was to discuss this. I think we would also need a motion to actually accept the censor or not to accept the censor if the attorney is correct.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Pierce. Yeah. Anyone else? With that? Trustee Luther.
I don't want to repeat what other trustees have said because you've all made very valid points. I'm not going to repeat that. I just want to just say one thing is that politics can be very, very ugly. And local politics is the worst thing out there because it's not someone you see on TV. It's not someone you don't know, but you just hear about. It's your neighbors, it's your friends, it's people you work with, you see on a daily basis. And when it gets personal, it makes everyone get on edge. And I think this is a situation where good intentions, a battle of ideas has turned personal and ugly on both sides. And regretfully, we're at this point again where this board is being asked to step up and decide this issue tonight. But I agree with Trustee Pierce. This isn't going to end. This is going to keep things going. This is just a step in the process. And I'm asking everyone to take a step back and start doing what's best for Antioch and for the schools and for our kids and our people. And let's try to get past this and move forward as quick as possible. I'm not saying everyone doesn't have the right to their opinions. They do. Everyone here on this board can go out tonight and say what they want about certain issues. But you know what? We're public officials. They have the right to come back at us, and we have to grow thick skin and take it and let them have their words as well. If we're going to go out there and say some things or challenge people or accuse people or attack a certain issue, you have every right to do so, but we can't sit there and then not expect it right back at us. So that being said, the discussions we're having here tonight that every trustee has talked about, the in-depth thought everyone has given this, I know I've put many hours into trying to figure out what to say and still have no idea what I'm saying right now. This is the type of thought and the things that we should be doing as a board on all of our issues and having an in-depth thoughts and thinking about how this impacts our community. So I hope we learn from this. Trustee Berman, I hope you understand that this isn't a personal thing. I know it could look that way. It's just the next step in this process. We have to move forward from this. And I think this is a necessary evil at this time. I hate doing it. I think hopefully this will start, I don't want to use the term healing, but the process of everyone starting to focus on what we're all here for, which is a better Antioch. That being said, I really hope that this doesn't snowball into a continued censor this, censor him, censor her. I hope this doesn't keep this issue out there. So I ask all sides to just kind of pull back. You know, if it's an actual issue that impacts everyone, speak your mind. Let's get back to talking and debating the issues, not personalities, not individuals. And I don't remember which trustee said it, but we need to work with our other government agencies and boards in this town on a regular basis and to do the best thing we can. So that's all I'll say. I hope, Katrina, that you'll speak to this issue. If you don't wish to speak, I understand that as well. But let's move forward.
Any discussion?
Oh, well, I'd
Yeah.
like to.
Yeah, of course.
My say.
All right. Yeah, of course. Trustee Berman, the floor is yours.
Okay, so there's been a lot of things said, a lot of very bad false accusations that were made about me at the last meeting. And I was not here to comment or defend myself. As far as, I feel that I've written emails to the board. Not just, a short little paragraph. I went into detail. I've tried to let you know how severe the situation is. But my voice gets drowned out when there's people that are attacking me are doing it online. They're bombarding the board with emails, FOIA requests. And other residents are seeing some of the things that are being said on there and are absolutely appalled that this entire time, yes, I, as well as them, understand that, yes, I am an elected official. However, I still am a human being and I do deserve to be treated, with some respect and dignity. And that is total lacking with the people on a particular page. And do we have any kids in the audience right now? No? Okay. So I would like to ask the female trustees here, if you feel that if somebody made a comment on social media that was discussing your holes, how big your holes are, what your holes look like, would you be okay with that? And for the men on the board, would you be okay with somebody saying that about your daughter? That is very obscene. And I'll tell you right now, that's sexual harassment. And to be told that I need to ignore that is unacceptable, and it is unethical, which I do believe is unethical according to our code, for elected officials to tell another human being to ignore it. It has gone over the line, and It's unacceptable, but yet then they're allowed to continue to come here and be heard, have their voices heard, and be appeased. And I am the one that has to quiet myself. I can't defend myself. As you guys have stated, yes, it's been going on for 3 years. I pulled my son out of the district because of it, because I was afraid to leave my son in a district that couldn't respect the concerns of a parent. And it doesn't matter what I say or what I do. I can post a picture. It doesn't matter. I am attacked for it. My son has been attacked. My husband's been attacked. Everything we do, I go to a restaurant, I'm attacked. I don't know how many more times I can say it. I don't feel that it's right that these people are trying to bully me to resign. I'm not going to resign. I have not done anything wrong. I have rights. I have the right to live in peace. I have the right to privacy, even though there have been individuals online that state that once I became an elected official, they apparently feel that I do not have the right to privacy. Well, I'm sorry. That is not correct. I find it disturbing that in a community, those horrible, obscene things can be said about me that totally violate me. And yet, not one adult says anything. Do you need help? Are you okay? Nothing. What are my options if I'm always being told that I am in the wrong? I do have a right to defend myself. I don't want to keep going on with that because that was not even going to be what I was going to talk about. That's not what I had planned. I wanted to address all these bullet points that were made, the false accusations. But there is never going to be a solution when we are not getting down to the root of the problem. I went 2 weeks without being on social media, 2 weeks, and I was still attacked. And it is to the point where I am being abused. It's ruining my reputation. Anybody can say any false accusation that they want. They can accuse me of embezzling money through a GoFundMe account that I created because I'm trying to raise money because I'm being abused. But instead, I get accused at the 110 board meeting. And mind you, this GoFundMe has like $552 in it. So we're not talking like $1 million, 552. And a particular Facebook group that has continuously attacked me drew in other people I have no idea who they are. And they had a whole discussion about how, because I put in $978 in my committee campaign on May 31st, 2022. Here's a few of the comments. Someone should ask the village if any village contractors donated to this campaign. Okay, that's fine. You want to ask that? That's fine. The answer is no. Then there are other things here about how they looked at the D4 form, which is public knowledge. And she is certainly accepting undisclosed campaign donations via this GoFundMe, which could also be a criminal violation. So I don't know about any of you, but I take that very seriously, being accused of something that's a criminal violation. That is not a little minor thing to say. You could ruin somebody's life over allegations like this. But apparently it's okay because I am a punching bag because I chose to serve my town. And I should just roll with the punches. And I'll tell you what, these people have beat me up and they are affecting my health. And there has to be a point where it comes to behavior by these other individuals has to be addressed. Nobody's saying take away First Amendment rights. Nobody's saying, you know, they can't make a FOIA request. They can't come here and speak during public comment, but there has to be a point where this board is like, okay, this needs to stop. Needs to stop. And that has not happened yet. And I'm sorry that you are bombarded with messages. I'm sorry that our clerk is tasked with FOIA requests that are purely FOIA just for the sake of trying to humiliate me on social media. You know, I've certainly come up with some suggestions, and I don't know if it would be more work for a clerk or if it would cost more money, but if we want to be transparent, and I think it would help all the way around, then it would eventually relieve work for our clerk if we did as District 34 does and puts our FOIA requests, do a log so that it has responsive documents on there, who FOIA'd it. That way then residents, taxpayers know who's FOIAing, how frequently they're FOIAing, and if they need that information, they don't have to bug our village clerk. And I think that it does help to put things into perspective. If things are, I don't like to use the word abuse, but there is a point where if things are being done a certain way for a certain reason, it's in a malicious way, it is abuse. And that's not what this is meant for, the FOIA process. And that, you know, it's meant to be transparent. And I know that sounds contradicting, but there's a difference between wanting it for transparency and knowledge, and it's another to purely do it to hurt another human being or to twist their words or to create more problems like on a billboard. So really quick, I don't want to drag this out. I don't want to make this any longer. There's been enough time that has been dedicated and wasted to this. So in regards to the GoFundMe, so that 900, I believe it was 968 that I put in 2022, it's now 2024. So I don't know if anybody else has a checking account, but my checking account that is specifically set only for my campaign finances has a minimum amount that you need to place in there. Otherwise, you're going to be charged. And unfortunately, the bank that I'm at charges hefty fees every month that you get docked for that. So said, well, that's not the way this money should be docked, and that's not what it's supposed to be used for. So I put money from my savings account or my husband's and my joint account, and I transferred it so that it was above that minimum threshold, and I didn't have to worry about it dropping down and having to keep doing it. That's all it was. Now, had I been approached about this when it was, you know, I was accused of it, somebody simply asked me, hey, what is this? You know, you're being accused of embezzling money through a GoFundMe. I would have been like, I would have just told you. Would have told you it was simple as putting money in to bring my balance up. But I did not hear from anybody. Nobody asked my side of the story. And then there's speculation, and then there's more abuse on Facebook. Until just now, this is the first time that I had the chance to defend myself. You know, and then, you know, I'm told, well, stay off the, you know, Facebook, shut up, ignore it. Well, when I don't have opportunities to speak,
I have no other form to do that other than on social media. And I guess it gets to the point where I have to ask other people, other adults, when does somebody take these posts as, instead of attacking somebody else, taking it as a cry for help? Like, how do people not understand that I am being abused? It's not just being called, oh, you're, I've been called every single name in the book, every single name. I've been called a Nazi, fascist, everything. I don't even want to repeat some of the stuff that I've been called. And I know they can call me anything they want, and that's fine. Whatever. But when it's on a daily basis and never stops, that is abuse. So next one, sorry, I lost my spot. So we've got I did GoFundMe. I was accused of making threats on social media. I have not made threats on social media, but I can tell you that there have been legitimate threats made towards me. Like I said, I didn't threaten anybody. I stated that because I'm being abused and harassed and stalked, that because I was told by a certain Facebook page that I don't have the right to seek any legal action to put an end to this, not only for myself, but for my family, for our community, for this board, everybody. And I say that that is my decision to make, not theirs, not the board's. It's my decision because that's what I feel needs to be done. And that was taken as a threat. It was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. So again, that was a false accusation. Blocking on Facebook, another social media issue. Trustee Bluthart, I'm gonna discuss briefly our conversation we had, because I do appreciate that you were one that reached out to me to help me get a little bit of relief from that abuse. And I really do appreciate it. So this was in October. I was accused of blocking constituents. Now, I don't block just whoever. When I don't see the point of having a social media account for this. If every time I go on there, I have someone on there, not on there to be, to give constructive criticism. This is flat out cruel, saying cruel things, making fun of me because I have, might as well say, because everybody knows now, I have an autoimmune disease that caused my eyebrows to fall out. And I have been made fun of for that relentlessly by these individuals. I don't think it's funny. Do any of you? Do you think that is funny? You're laughing. That's okay. It's a funny conversation. That's okay. I don't think it's funny. I think it's rude. I think it's ignorant. I don't think it's right that people think it's funny that I have a disease that I can't do the same thing that everybody else does. But let's make fun of it. Let's laugh. Because it's all at my expense. I have to internalize it. I need to shut up and just roll with it. So anyways, with the blocking, those would be the instances that I would block somebody. And up until October 16th, I did not block anybody because I was under the impression that I could not do that. So I didn't. I just kept dealing with the abuse. And that's when Trustee Bluthart had reached out and we had a brief discussion on the difference between an official Facebook page for elected officials and an unofficial page. Meaning, you know, it's not an official, like a branch off of something that the village gave us to specifically use that account. And because they were our campaign pages, that that meant that we did have the ability to block if need be. And he ended up stating, because he wanted to make sure so nobody got in trouble, he reached out to Attorney Vaselli to verify what he had told me. It was verified that that was correct. Trustee Bluthart called me, told me that was indeed correct, and to block away if I need to. And that's what I did. And I've been accused of violating First Amendment rights. And I'd like to remind people that, yes, while you do have the right to free speech and the First Amendment, it's also not absolute, meaning that there are certain forms of speech that are not protected by that. And I think that there's certain people in this town that don't seem to understand that, and they think that they can breach that line, and it's not it's unacceptable. Okay, so that I'm almost done. I'm sorry. FOIA emails. I was accused of posting privileged village emails, which I did not. They were FOIA'd emails, and they were public knowledge. I was informed that they were indeed posted to Facebook, and what I shared on my post was a screenshot of a post of those photos. That was it. And you know, for a trustee to accuse me of that, when we all know that when the clerk gets a request for FOIAs, that if, depending on what it is requesting, that goes to us, and we are told to search for responsive documents within our personal emails and, or text messages. So I don't understand why that was even brought up. So almost done. There was another issue with audio. Like I said, I have proof for all of my stuff here. I was sent a cease and desist letter, and the minute that I read it, I did exactly what they wanted. No problems, no nothing after that. Done. I have emails that I had sent, communications between myself and District 34, asking them to please release the Zoom video that I was told was recorded during my interview for the uniform grievances that I had placed. District 34 forwarded it to the attorney. Their attorney sent a brief message back to me stating that the case was closed, and that was it. Now, there's numerous false statements of fact made in there. And I asked for it to be corrected because that's the right thing to do, the ethical thing. And I was told no. So then it was taken and it was FOIA'd, and it was placed on Facebook, and I have been abused and defamed over this for over a year. How do you think I feel? How do you think that feels? It's not fun. That ruins my reputation. It discredits me. And then we wonder why we have people, they're scared of me. I can't go to restaurants without being stalked, without people knowing what we're doing, without being accused of giving my son alcohol at a bar. Those are serious accusations, and I don't take them lightly. And then I would like to address, there was mention of a censure letter from 2022 that, again, was FOIA'd and posted on Facebook, and I was abused over it again and mocked and laughed at. Now, at the last meeting, there was a comment made that Trustee Masick stated that he declined, or I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, that he was not there the day that that letter was circulated, and therefore the reason why he did not sign it. Now, when that occurred, Trustee Masick told me that he declined to sign it. So, two different things there, first of all. Now, I'm upset over this because I feel that this situation really created a lot of problems on this board and a lot of unnecessary problems on this board. After the censure letter was posted to Facebook, obviously I was upset. I received a call from Trustee Masick who told me that it was wrong, that that was sent to me. It was unconstitutional. And now, being that this is my first term on the board, I don't know everything. I'm still learning. And when you have something that serious happen for the first time, it's pretty devastating. Well, I was told by Trustee Masick that I should report the board to the Attorney General, that for possible secret meeting, and that there was information leaked, and therefore the reason why this resident knew that this letter existed and ended up posting it on to Facebook. So, because that trustee's been on the board for a long time, and it's what I had considered experienced, I listened because I didn't know what else to do, because I felt like I had my rights violated. But then I hear all this other stuff that has now come up, and I see what it did to our board. I don't understand why that happened. I feel like it was stirring the pot. I think it was unfair to me. I think it was unfair to the other board members. And then to claim at the last board meeting that a completely different reason for why it wasn't signed, I think that's unethical. And then I have to go online and see. So it just doesn't end there. Then there's talk about, well, you guys posted the letter with elected official signatures. Well, that's because the clerk, who is trained, a trained FOIA officer, that's the way it was sent. And then all of a sudden there's all this speculation, and these individuals on this page are talking about how they've been contacted by the village, and that there was someone that stated that they didn't want their signature out there, and nobody knows what is the truth, what isn't. You have a board that's now each person has a chip on their shoulder because this pot's been stirred. And you have, I mean, this is bad government. It makes everybody look bad. But yet I'm the one that is told that I've breached a code of conduct because I've defended myself or spoke up at my son's school that he was a student at, that I am a constituent of and a resident and parent. that I've always, like I've stated, I feel like a broken record, stated that when I've emailed there, I've gone to speak at board meetings, that I was strictly there as a parent. Like, how much more clear can I be? What else do I have to do? Or do I just tell my son, I'm sorry, I'm no longer a mother, I'm an elected official now? No, I am a mother. And as I've stated before, that comes first. Doesn't mean that I'm going to do any less of a good job as an elected official, but I mean, for goodness sake. It is unacceptable to say that I have to prioritize my elected position over my family. I should have every right to be able to speak at a board meeting. If the elected officials there are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or I feel that they're not doing something right, I do have a right to criticize them, just as they have done to me. If I feel they need to resign, I have the right to say that. It's protected speech. Now, I've been retaliated for that. Again, you know, people have retaliated against me for that because I used, you know, my free speech. So it's like, no matter which way I go, I'm attacked. I'm told I'm not allowed to do it, but everybody else can do it to me, including other elected officials. And I don't want to get into this again because I am so sick and tired of talking about this, but I will, this last part, I will say what was done to me with all of that, to the point that I had to pull my son out of school, was not right. So, sorry, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Like I said, I didn't want to get into all of this other stuff, but, oh, last thing, I'm sorry. And then I promise I'm done. Then I was accused of posting businesses and people's names, and I didn't do that. There was an account that had liked one of the trustees here that also happened to have their name of their business listed. And I made a post asking who the person was that made, you know, whose account that was, because they are heavily involved with the people that are abusing me. It was it. It had nothing to do with the trustee. I was not accusing a trustee, but yet I was falsely accused of doing that at the last meeting. And last but not least, I know that I have complained to IT that my government email, I have tons of spam, to the point that I'm afraid that I'm not going to see a constituent's email because it's either shoved all the way down. It's ridiculous. But here's this is when it does become disruptive to government. When you see things online on social media that say, don't worry, Katrina, I'll fill out the online form to add your trust email to their list. And then you receive 20 emails from a partisan nonprofit to your account. And then you have another email from that nonpartisan that you try to email back to say, please do not send these emails to me. This is nonpartisan government, and you are a partisan nonprofit. But then all of a sudden you can't send it. It's just like some weird, I don't even know what it was. It bounced back. I couldn't do anything. It was literally just sent to me. So I have to bother our IT to go in and check that. And I've done that multiple times. I feel like I'm like going crazy. I feel bad bothering everybody. I always feel like I'm a bother because, you know, I don't know what to do about it. And I do think that we need to get down to the root of it. I've not asked this board, I've not come to this board to ask anything in regards to my personal family life or anything like that. I've simply asked the board to stay out of my personal business. And I know that sounds harsh and I don't mean it that way, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Everything's been mixed, everything's been blurred. I do appreciate being able to speak tonight because I feel like I haven't been able to do this. And I'm sorry to the board that I reported this board to the Attorney General because I think it really made things go sour. And now knowing what I know, I don't know. I feel like I was manipulated. So I do apologize for that. Attorney Vasselli, Mayor Gardner. So everybody was stating that they want things to be fair. Needs to be fair, and I appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. But if we're going to keep things fair, we need to make sure that we're doing this straight across the board. So now I had my hearing for a censure. Do we need to do this for another trustee? I don't want to have to do it, but nobody thought about my feelings about even asking me about any of this before it went public and everybody speculated. I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong. Isn't it against code of conduct to falsely accuse or criticize or attack another public official? I mean, this has created a lot of problems. And I don't know, I don't know, I guess, from here what, as a board, what we should do about that. Like Trustee Bluthart said, he doesn't want it to be where everybody's censuring, but if we're gonna do this and it's gonna be based off of fairness and based off specific codes of conduct, then we need to hold everybody accountable all across the board.
So, I appreciate taking the time to speak to the board and the public. Right now, this is the only issue before the board. If there was ever a time where there was another, I guess, committee of the whole request or a motion in a second, then we could probably move in that direction. But I think at this time, we just have to stick to this agenda item. But that does not minimize your rights, the trustee, to, move in that direction at another time. Is there any other discussion at the board level at this time? All right. So I believe.
Sorry, mute was on. My mute was on.
All right, Trustee Pierce.
Thank you, Katrina, for your defense of yourself. I do have to tell you, a lot of the stuff I hear is stuff that has been forwarded to me and shared with me by others because I am blocked on your accounts. I can't see anything that you do, which is fine. So that is one issue. But it's hard being a trustee. It really is, because I can tell you over the years, I've had all the lug nuts except for one on each tire taken off my car. I've had my FU spray painted on my house. I've had my water turned on outside in the middle of winter. I've been fat shamed repeatedly. And when they tried to shame you for your bathing suit at the Lions thing, I think I made a nice long comment about body shaming on my Facebook page and how wrong it was. So I have spoken up for you at times, but it's hard being a trustee. I had a fight with the school over drug dogs, and next thing I know, we got repeated phone calls from the school district over my daughter having too many holes in her pants when she had less holes than a lot of other kids. I mean, it does happen. In one of the Twitter accounts or something, my name that was present in the evidence presented by other groups, my name was in there, and wanting to know what my ties to and affiliations with some group was. I follow them because I'm trying to see what's going on in there. you know, but there's always accusations against me. There's always comments about how fat I am, and it's always hard. I couldn't imagine anybody making comments about my body in the manner that they do about yours, because it hurts when they talk about how big I am, because they don't know what I've been through in my life. So I get that. So anybody out there body shaming, fat shaming, eyebrow shaming, uh, sexual shaming, whatever, they need to stop, and they just need to go crawl underneath their rock that they crawled out. But that's part of when my name is put on Facebook by people. I just ignore it, because that's the best course of action for me. It may not be the best course of action for you, but it's the best course of action for me, because all it does is stir the pot more, because it feeds, it throws red meat to the lions. I know how hard it is being a trustee, and but but as time goes by here, I struggle with this, because you do have your First Amendment rights, but I also have seen the effect of how you fund schools has affected the community. I've seen how you argue with the people on Facebook affects the community, and it does hurt the community, and it does need to stop, and it needs to stop on both sides. The stuff they say on the other side is horrific. The stuff that may or may not be you on Facebook, it's not, it may be factual in your mind, but it's not factual in their mind. So it's all a point of view of the thing, but all we can deal with is what we see as your behavior. We can't deal with the Facebook groups. We can't deal with District 34. We can't deal with somebody coming before the board and standing at the podium saying stuff we don't like. Right now, we're dealing with you, and if there's other people that need to be talked about their behavior, maybe we need to have those discussions. I don't know. There's discussions been held about me before, but right now we're dealing with this issue tonight, and I, like everybody else here said, I'm sorry we're here. I'm sorry we have to deal with it, but unfortunately we do.
Can I?
Yeah, of course.
And obviously you are entitled to vote however you choose. That's why I came here prepared tonight. It's not up to me to tell you how to vote. That's why we have this whole process. And if you want to censure me, then that's what you do. I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to have a chip on my shoulder. I'm going to take it and I'm going to deal with it. So I think that, I think I've provided enough information and proof and whatnot. And I hope that it's enough for you to make your decision. So.
All right, thank you. Do we need any clarification on the motion, Attorney Vasili?
So Trustee Pierce,
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, the motion was to call it to the table for discussion. The motion was. Okay, so then Trustee Pierce, you made the motion. Was that a motion to approve the resolution, or was it to discuss it?
Attorney Vasili, my motion originally was to discuss the resolution. At this time, I would make the motion to approve the resolution as presented for censure, in hopes that this will be the end of this.
Thank you for the clarification, Trustee. Obviously, to perfect it, Mr. Chair, Madam Clerk, you need a second.
Okay, motion Trustee Pierce, second Trustee Masek, roll call, please. Correct.
No, and again, apologies to Trustee Berman. The rules dictate that she does not have a vote on.
Right. Yeah. No.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
All right, 5 voting yes, motion carries. Let's all take this as a moment to move forward and put this behind us and hopefully heal as a community, and that's all. That I'll leave it at that. Next item on the agenda is the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Just so the board is aware, we did take possession last week of the future Village Hall facility. Staff conducted a walkthrough. We are now in full possession of that building. The previous tenant has vacated, relocated into the new facility. We continue to work on the RFQ for the owner's rep as requested by the board for our future projects. As we work through that, Director Heimbrough and I do have a meeting with another government agency that recently used owner's rep for a major project to further explore that and understand the benefits from the perspective of an owner of a property. We continue to make significant progress towards the necessary easements for the future Grimm Road project. All affected property owners seem very committed to work with the village to resolve this, and we expect to come to the board with the necessary easements for action prior to the deadline of the Council of Mayors necessary for some grant funding. We had a recent meeting with the village architect to further discuss the new village hall and the future public works to bring those in alignment with the project scope that we need to accommodate our needs, but within the budgetary direction that the board has provided. So as those revisions are made to the plans, we'll bring that back to the board for further discussion. I know that snow plowing was a common theme tonight. I would just like to take the opportunity to also recognize Public Works for their efforts in preparing downtown for the wine walk we held last Saturday. As we know, Mother Nature was very uncooperative. Dennis and his team spent several days hauling out snow and de-icing the downtown, only for Mother Nature to dump another load of snow on us the following day. They got right back out there and were vigilant to fight the conditions that were extremely unfavorable. We received a lot of positive praise and feedback from participants that were involved in the wine walk. They felt that it was another fantastic event. So Dennis, thank you for your team for all the work you did in making that a safe and continued success for everybody. I just wanted to address the resident that did bring up the concern with the snowmobile ordinances. I want you to know that Commander Smith did bring that issue to my attention this morning. He has already supplied draft ordinances and recommendations to me, so that will be coming to the board. Unfortunately, it's just one of those scenarios where a loophole exists in ordinance, people will find it. So we'll be sure to shore that up and make sure that we resolve this problem. Unless the board has any questions, that'll end my report.
Any questions? Trustee Bluthart?
In regards to the new village hall, is there any intention or is there any available uses that we can use it in the meantime before we rehab it?
I think that's something that staff can look at. Again, we're trying to move this project along as quickly as possible, so we'd hate to dedicate it to one use, only to have to move out of it again. Mayor participated in that discussion, and I think we're gonna be able to move that project forward, hopefully this late spring, early summer. So it's not a terribly long time off before we start making some forward momentum.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Administrator. Next is village clerk report. Any report? No report. Department reports, communications. Jim Moran.
Good evening, Mayor, Village Board, residents. I'm, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jim Moran. I'm the Communications Manager for the Village of Antioch. I didn't have a chance to address you guys last month. Just wanted to make sure that you saw I had the opportunity right before Christmas to join the Antioch Police Department along with the Fire Department to take visit an 8-year-old child in our village that didn't have a chance to see Santa Claus before Christmas. We were able to go bring Santa Claus to his house, and it was a great event for 8-year-old Joey, who lives on the western part of our community. And it was nice to get some, we got a lot of Facebook exposure off of that and some media coverage. And it was a great opportunity to join our police and fire departments on that evening, along with April from Penny's Purpose. We also provided media support for the wine walk that happened this past weekend. As in past wine walks, we partnered with Star 105 Radio. They had 2 of their DJs out for the wine walk and did extensive promotion ahead of time, which resulted in considerable ticket sales. Again, they've been a great partner for the last couple of years. This past week, or about a week ago, I Daily Herald did an update on the Veterans Memorial in Antioch. It was good coverage on the progress we continue to make there as a community and just some upcoming events that we're working on promoting. We have the Sweetheart Dance next month, the Hot Chocolate Walk on February 24th, and then March's Shamrock Shuffle. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Director Quilty Parks, and thank you for a successful wine walk again.
I'm beating a dead horse. Good evening, Mayor and trustees, and happy birthday, Mary. And I'm so happy to see your son came to spend your birthday with you. So in December, we did send out 125 letters to Santa, from the children of Antioch. Also in December, we had Santa at the Sawmill for over 3 weekends, and we handed out over 400 candy canes to children and some parents. Santa Leo was beloved by children and parents alike. And along with the Santa at the Sawmill, we had Festival of Trees with 9 participants. With the three winners was the Beinecke family. Their Christmas tree was a dinosaur, the Antioch Garden Club, and the District 34 Board of Education were the 3 voted best trees. So thank you to those groups for participating. Also coming up, we have the Camp Grand Preschool will host their open house. It is for incoming families to meet the teachers, talk to the teachers, hear about the program, ask any questions. It is February 1st at 6 p.m. And then families already in Camp Grand will register for the next coming year, February 2nd, and then residents can start registering February 19th. And also staff has been working on our spring summer brochure, which will hit your mailbox hopefully by March 1. And it's registration and events from March until the end of August. The wine walk was held this past weekend. We did sell 539 tickets. And of those 539, 517 people were not afraid of the weather. So thank you, people. Antioch Pizza did also sponsor it and they served pizza slices at check-in, which was very helpful. And there were a lot of walkers carrying shopping bags. I don't know if anyone had seen it. Lots of white shopping bags going around. So it was a great event, both for the village and for the businesses, to see people out shopping and eating at all the restaurants also. And our next 2 upcoming events, as Jim had stated, was the Sweetheart Dance, February 10th. Right now, we are at 191 participants. It will be held at Northbridge Church as a luau theme, and we will have Hawaiian dancers, hula dancers for entertainment. And lastly, our new event, the Hot Chocolate Walk, which is a free event, and it is sponsored by Nestle. It will be supplying all the hot chocolate, and the businesses will supply toppings, and the participants will vote on their favorite hot chocolate, and the will be awarded the best hot chocolate. And the event will end with a free showing of Willy Wonka at the theater. And I believe there's 144 people already registered for that.
All right. Very nice. Thank you. And
Wait, a quick
yeah,
question.
question, trustee.
Mary, yeah, in regards to the Sweetheart Dance,
Yes.
is there a limit on the, because I remember last year there were some issues regarding tickets and like selling out. Is there a limit this year?
At Northbridge, I believe it's 500.
Okay.
The VFW was.
Has that been promoted that there is a limit, or is it, I just want to make sure people don't get to the end and can't get a ticket. if
Yeah,
they want.
I don't believe it hasn't been promoted that there's a limit of 500 tickets.
Okay.
But we can start putting that on as it gets closer. Get your tickets.
Appreciate it. Thank
Can
you.
I- Mary, can I ask you
Yes.
really quick? So just as far as the wine walk,
Mm-hmm.
what like around this time is that where we're normally at for tickets?
500, yes.
About that? Okay.
Usually our winter wine walk, surprisingly, is the most attended walk. Everyone's
People
after
are bored
Christmas,
out of their
needing to
minds.
get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I also did have several businesses say that January has been terrible, but they had a really good day on Saturday. So
Yeah.
that's
And then hopefully the hot chocolate walk, same thing, being that it's free, parents and families will be out around the town.
Thank you.
Sure.
Director Heimbro, Public Works.
Thank you and good evening. Guess I don't have to talk about snow plowing, so thank you, everybody. I will mention that, just this month, the crews have been out 10 times with snow and ice operations, so give you an idea of how many times they've been out there on the street, doing what they need to do. Recently, we advertised a request for proposals for the wastewater treatment plant sludge hauling. Unfortunately, we cannot extend the current contract one more year, so I will be bringing that to the board in the near future for contract approval. In light of the new IEPA regulations for lead service elimination, staff and I have been working on over the past year. The IEPA has basically timelines that need to be met and certain criteria that has to be documented and submitted to them. One of that is collecting what we know is lead service, and then what we do not know has to be considered lead until we can verify it. So recently there was a mailing that went out to individuals that we know or are unknown materials, and hopefully with the efforts of the residents or the renter of the building, they can help determine. There's directions within the mailing showing the different types of material and what they can do to identify it, take a photo and submit it via email account or call the office, mail it in, or they can schedule an appointment. Sometimes it's difficult for residents to allow our staff into their home for whatever reason. So hopefully this effort will help us determine. There is 170 unknown material services that we need to. Otherwise, the IEPA will basically determine those as lead, and we would have to dig them up to find out if they are. So that hopefully we will collect all that information. We will submit that to the IEPA, and then going forward, we'll be developing a plan over the next how many years to start replacing as that's required. So well 9 is still under repair. The contractor is basically waiting for the equipment and any materials. It's all on order. They're just, so hopefully soon.
I'm sorry, Mr. Himbro, you're
Yes.
not speaking in the microphone and you're whispering.
Okay.
You're tall, so the microphone is not near you.
Okay, sorry. Along with wells, unfortunately, we have been experiencing a reduced production in well 7, which is on Bulls Road. We've been monitoring it over the past couple months. We thought it was a meter issue as the well was drilled in 1994. But after some recent discussions, I will be drafting an RFP to go out on the street to receive proposals to pull that well, see if it is either the intake screening, which can sometimes get material, just natural material corrosion. Sometimes that will affect how the pump will actually produce, or the pumping of its age may need to be replaced. So that will be going out for a request, and I will hopefully be following up with that information. And then lastly, in late December, I was able to complete the purchase of the open space furnishing, the chairs, the tables, the garbage receptacles, and the benches. That was one of the items that was identified in Strand's presentation as a cost savings for the village. If we were to purchase it, it was originally in Bowler's contract to purchase, and we wound up saving $35,000 by purchasing it for the village.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So well 7,
Yes.
would that be the cause of the coloring of the water, the sediment coming in there? Because I also did notice through the toilet water sediment.
I don't believe so. I can clarify with the water supervisor and the operators, but it's a reduced production. So the pump is basically not producing the gallons per minute that it's supposed to. So it's not it's not creating more pressure or causing any turbidity in the system.
When's the last time that's water tested?
It's tested on a regular basis. All of our water systems and wells are.
And when was the last time the water tower over there was flushed?
I would have to check that information, when the cleaning of that tower was worse, or the farthest time frame would have been when it was painted, which was just 5 years ago at the most.
Because a lot of times through that well, fire department comes over there and they drain that with practice.
Okay, I'm not aware of any recent. The only recent activity would have been the fire at Chicago Red Hots, depending on where.
No. They do it all the time. They take their truck over there and they spray into the pond.
Okay. Well, that would be valuable information. I will touch
Yeah.
base with the chief, because that will, if they're connecting, we ask the fire department if they're doing any training to come down to the wastewater treatment plant and perform the training down there, because that does not affect the system.
It's been a while since they've done it, but they're there. But it's been there probably 4 months ago. They've sprayed, and it's just weird that they just do that.
And if they connect onto the hydrant that is right next to the pump house, it won't affect the systems. It's basically draining right, it's not out in the system itself. It's directly coming from that tower, not necessarily draining the water within the pipe system.
Don't they gotta be flushed? It's a good time to flush.
We did just flush in October, and that was a village-wide flush. But fire that happened at Chicago Red Hots could affect that system in that area, being that it's so close to Heron Harbor.
What is the average well pump age? I think you've said this before when we were just discussing it, but I can't remember what
As far as
is like in general, like what would, or are they, it's just random that they don't.
as far as the life expectancy or useful life,
Yeah.
it varies, of course, on the amount of production that pump does for the system. Some wells that we, or some, yes, well pumps that we utilize throughout the village, some we use more often than others. Whether it's the amount of capacity that they can pump, whether it's the location, the service area, some areas use more water than others. So
You
it's,
can't really go off
yeah.
of, okay, wasn't sure. I know that the last time we were talking about it.
I was just gonna make a suggestion, and if you could, regarding the lemonade water, I think is how you described it. If you could just look, I mean, I'm sure you already are looking into it, but if you could report back to us on what's been done or what you find out, it kind of ties in with what the other trustees were
Yeah,
asking.
definitely. Any type of complaint that we receive in regards to rusty water or discolored, there is criteria that Sherry goes through with the resident to clarify certain things, just to gather information. We usually schedule an appointment, whether it is just to go out to the house, even though maybe now the water is clear, but at least to go to that residence and kind of educate them on some of our end and understand fully what they experience. And then we do offer, like the resident had explained, that if they encounter it again, to immediately contact us. So hopefully we can witness it. There's many factors that cause discolored water in the system, and sometimes it could be the individual's house. So we definitely like to get out there and try and identify where the source is coming. So we will take any phone calls and any concerned resident and gather that, and then research, especially just that area, if there's an issue within Woodland Ridge or Heron Harbor itself.
Well, if you could just report back.
Yeah.
On what's been.
Yep, we'll gather
Going
that
down the road.
information, and I can even look in past and bring up any type of past inspections over the past 5 years. We usually document anything like that because it's a scheduled time frame for staff to visit that location. So I can bring that information if you'd like.
Just whatever you feel like you need to present, but we have resident up here with the concern. I want to make sure that we follow up on it. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, any trustee reports?
I don't have a report per se. I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So I don't know if I've asked this, I think I have asked this before, but it was a while ago. I feel that we need to have a discussion, maybe, place on another agenda to have a discussion about plumbing inspections, because as of now, we do not have a plumbing inspector. And I think that it's causing some issues, or not major, but I think down the line it could turn into bigger issues. So I just think that we need to at least start a conversation on it.
It was a long time ago that I talked to Chris Ano, so that was a long time ago. Are we still subcontracting those out, Michael, I believe?
Okay.
We are actually using HR Green as part of our consulting, our plumbing,
Are you?
but we have had some discussions about
Oh.
maybe part-time or full-time
Okay.
again. So that's something that we're discussing.
How long has that been for?
HR Green, I think HR Green, our consultant, has been with us well over a year. I think
Was Wally Henning the last?
Gary retired probably, I think, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. Close, I've lost track. I apologize, but maybe closer to 2 years ago.
Right. Thank you. Trustees, any trustee
Uh,
reports?
Um,
Yours?
yeah,
I bet
I'm
I know what
sorry.
you're gonna say.
I don't know how to get your attention, but
I bet I know what you're gonna talk about.
yeah, because I already sent you a text on it. First of all, I think Paul Green was absolutely correct. Our snow plowing crew out there, despite what the critics and the experts claim, they were moving concrete, and they weren't moving snow. It was concrete, and so they did a great job, and they need to be congratulated. So Paul Green hit it on the head. It was very comforting knowing they're out there working on the roads. And I've been to several communities that weren't quite as nice as ours. So good job to our crew. But I do think we need to have a snow removal discussion. One point of order is the Great Lakes property. Is it Great? It's the property that owns Walmart and Menards. That company, years ago, they had a PUD in effect, and as part of their approval, they were forbidden from using the salt. They had to use some high cost, low environmental materials to help clear their parking lot. And I think Walmart has gone over to where the stuff is too high costing, so they're not going to do anything other than have somebody try to plow over there. So I think we need to look at what Menards and Walmart are required as part of their PUD or whatever. If we could change them to require them to use the proper materials to clear their lots, because their Walmart's especially lot was atrocious and very unsafe for the residents going out onto the roads, coming into the lots. And so we need to look at what we can do to enforce with Walmart that they are using the stuff that works. And if it's salt, it has to be salt. I know legally they can't do it right now, but I think they're also using it as an excuse to save money and not do anything other than a low cost plowing job. The other thing I think we need to discuss in our snow removal is we have places like Anita Terrace Apartments who clear their parking lots of snow by pushing it across the road and onto our sidewalks. And there's now a mountain of snow on the Anita sidewalk that will not be cleared for quite a while. Despite the efforts of our crews to probably go through there with their snow eating machine that does sidewalks. So I think we need to have fines in place, fines that are enforced, that if they're plowing into a public area that doesn't belong to them, or they're plowing onto other people's properties, or they're doing something in their plowing operations that removes the snow from their property and puts it somewhere else, that we have an enforceable ordinance that says you cannot do this, and that the fines
Lost you for a second, Scott.
You lost me, I'm sorry.
There you
Right.
are. You're back. You're back.
Okay. If they have too much snow on their property, the answer isn't plowing it onto our property, or plowing it onto their neighbor's property. The answer is them paying to have it removed from their property or stored somewhere on their property. And then the other thing about snow removal, I've noticed this, and it's not just Antioch, but when people move snow, they move it into the handicap spots. That seems to be the storage location for snow in parking lots, both private and other places. We need to have in our ordinances that the handicap spots cannot be the storage location for snow removal. So these are probably all things for the attorney to mull
Sure.
over.
Yep. And yes, I did receive multiple complaints about Walmart and the Anita Street. So we talked about it staff, and we'll start getting a plan together to address those items. I was not aware of the no salt rule. It appears that Walmart had a new contractor this year, and I don't know if they'll be back, but that's for discussion. Any other trustee reports? Trustee Basic?
So on the trustee Pierce's, we're looking at getting new handicap signs, for the higher fines and the electric parking. Change in ordinance.
Yeah, the raised to 350 or whatever the
Yeah,
fine was.
yeah, because some of those signs are not up to date. There's still people parking. There's still people parking illegally. And the signs aren't, I don't think the signs are marked strong enough.
Yeah, so the ordinance was updated, as you know. I did confirm with Public Works that all village signage was updated. And as discussed, staff's working on a plan to try to figure out how best to notify all private property owners. Every apartment building, every business, every plaza.
Do we have
signage.
We have a game plan for your electric parking ordinance.
Yes, yes. Attorney's working on it. It's going to be very similar to the state statute, but it's going to allow us to handle it on a local level. So it is in the works.
All right. Anything else in the trustees? All right. Oh, well, before we adjourn, I was going to do this in the next meeting, and half the people will probably leave. So I'm going to do it now. I think we need a feel good moment. So today is a birthday, as was mentioned,
Oh,
a milestone birthday, so to speak.
29.
40 is the new 30, so to speak, right, Mary? But I'm gonna make everybody sing happy birthday. So yes. All right. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
Dear Mary.
happy
Happy birthday
to you. Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Now I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Don't move.
Motion trustee
Second.
Bluthart. Second, trustee Peterson. All in favor?
Okay.
All right. Meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene in about 5 minutes.
I'm like freezing. Feet are like.
All right, calling the meeting to order at whatever time. It's too late. 9 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Here,
Here.
here.
Trustee Peter,
Present. I can't hear Lori.
Here.
trustee Peterson,
Oh,
Here.
present. All right. Well, my mayoral report was happy birthday again, trustee Peterson. No citizens wishing to address the board. Regular business. First item is approval of the January 10th, 2024 committee of the whole meeting minutes as presented. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion, trustee
Second.
Basic, second trustee Bluthart. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
All right, 6 voting yes, minutes are approved. Number 2, discussion regarding the final steps of the Parks Master Plan, Director Quilty.
Good evening again. The park board has reviewed this action plan and recommends to this board that we move forward with the final book to be presented at the upcoming meeting. This plan is set to give guidance on having set aside in the budget for these projects. So as you can see, year 1, the village of Antioch will need to set aside $785,000, $833,000 for these set projects of the master plan. And it gives the funding on it. And the grant money that is available that Hitchcock then will secure for us. Any question? I mean, so you can see each year, the 5 years. If there's a project that you would prefer to have different, that is what we are looking, I'm looking to get back from you, take back.
All these items are within that master parks
Yeah,
budget.
the scope. Yes, of the master plan.
So, this will go back to the board your board one last time for a
No.
final
No.
approval?
Hitchcock will then present once we get approval that this is okay, this action plan, that these are the way you want your projects in that order, each year. Then they will present the final final book for the master plan.
So, and I don't know how much, the trustees understood what they're looking at or reviewed this. Is this something that we, obviously it's on the cow, that you look to put on the board meet, like have the trustees look at it, digest it, and have it
Yeah,
up
that's
for the
fine.
next board meeting?
Or you
Do-
can send me any questions.
When is it?
I can resend the trustee Masick if you'd prefer. I can resend the original book that gives the
Well,
scopes.
Okay.
Here's my big question. So you got all this stuff multiplying in years,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have, so you got costs. Where am I at year one? Let's go to year two. So you got safety plan. I don't know what that consists of, $200,000, that's a blank space. So we got field court renovations. So we've got blank numbers.
If you go over, the
Okay.
colors are coming from year one. So the line
Okay,
items
but
are all
I'm on
going
year
across.
two, so I just want to make sure I'm making my point. So we're getting these figures 538. So we're going into an inflation year three, blah, blah, blah. So we don't have any of these contracts in place, locked in prices. So these are just
Estimates, yes.
estimate made up numbers. So year three, we got a trail plan of $50,000. That could be $100,000, depending on inflation, depending on labor costs.
Correct. It could. Hitchcock has been doing master plans for lots of communities. So I'm confident that their numbers.
So my question is, how do we get these narrowed down in future where we can narrow these down to lock in prices for future? That would be my ultimate goal, to sit there. So we're not sitting here year two, year three, and we're all of a sudden we're way over budget because trail turns from 50 to 100 and everything escalates in the double digit figures, and all these figures here are done double digit.
So I guess also trustee Masick, we'd have to know if Hitchcock already, incorporated inflation into these,
Right,
what
that's
percentage?
what we don't know that.
Okay,
Okay, I can ask that.
okay, yeah. Okay, so, we have a meeting, on the 14th, so we get to spend birthdays and Valentine's Days together, so, sorry, Mary.
No problem.
No, this Mary, birthday, Valentine's Day, we're all gonna be here, so.
No.
Trustee Bluthart had a question.
I have a question. Obviously, these are budgetary issues that we have to consider as we go into this. So I'm assuming that we are looking at, when we're talking about year two, that's our budget that we're in or
That
starting
we should
discussion.
put aside
Right.
for capital improvements, correct, for the
Correct.
parks.
Do you know offhand, and I don't know, and I apologize for not knowing, what we have what did we have in this year's budget for parks program or things that could have
Parks
been
capital,
done under?
80,000.
Actually,
Okay.
trustee Bluthart, year one would be this coming year's,
25.
24 to 25 would be the coming year's
This
budget.
budget we're working.
Correct. That's the budget we're working on.
Yeah, so I know there's a 80,000 in account set aside. I see they put 90,000 for
Correct.
this year.
So I guess what I'm asking is are we, when we're looking at our budget, is that what you are presenting as the parks budget for that year for capital improvement is the 785,000? So about a 10-fold increase?
Yes.
And then as a board, are we taking action to approve this as a advisory or as a set in stone that we are agreeing to spend this much every year per this plan?
I believe they're looking to come back with, this is what is set in stone, and then the trustees
The-
will look at these items and say, all right, well, we want to do these pickleball courts, but this year we don't want to do playground A.
The master plan is more of a guiding tool. It's telling you what the constituents wanted, what they see as an improvement. And then so now these are the things, knowing that our budget constraints, these are the things that we can accomplish in that first budget year.
If we can come up with the
Yeah,
$785,000.
Kelly, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I know we received other information at prior
Mhm.
meetings about the survey results and things like that, but if I go back to my records, will that sort of correlate with where they're planning on putting pickleball or where these trails
Yes.
will go? Is there more detail, cross-reference?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can't find it, just email me.
Okay.
Resend.
Now, if we were to approve a budgetary number, obviously larger than 80,000, and
Mhm.
you know, if we could do that, we would do that. Would it then, I'm assuming, would be the Parks Board, let's say we come up with 500,000, I'm just, right, we come up with 500,000 for next budget year. The Parks Board would then take that 500,000 and apply it to this plan accordingly, or are
Yes,
we
that
still
we
gonna
would
be
get-
asked to approve, sir?
Yes, they would recommend what they feel the 500,000 of
Okay.
that first year plan. You always have the final say.
Director Quilty, so when is the next parks meeting? Is it mid-February?
Yeah, right.
When were you guys looking for
21st.
final, when were they looking for final approval in February or March? March, maybe?
The March. Probably.
Okay, because we're trying to schedule that budget meeting. I
Right.
think this would be a big topic of, how we put those numbers in.
Mhm.
Okay. So trustees, check your dates on that budget date that was sent out today.
The 20th?
It's a Monday night, 26th. Any questions for Director Quilty of this? All right, thank you. So we'll move this on to the next agenda. And we could put it on cow and regular business if it's ready for any type of vote. So, okay? All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think an important aspect of this, and it's going to impact budgeting and everything else, is something I brought up at the last board meeting, which is having us look at possibly earmarking the revenues from the dispensary to go towards parks capital improvements.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be part of the larger budget discussion when we meet in February.
Thank you.
All right, Joseph, are you awake? I hope, because you've been sitting here on Zoom for a long time. I appreciate it. So the next item is your item. There he is. Discussion regarding the Heron Harbor Master Association. We have Joseph Sharnak on Zoom, and I believe he's the attorney for the association, correct?
I am for the Master Association, correct.
Yep, thank you.
There's some type of interference with a mic or something. It's driving us crazy.
Over here?
Can't figure out where it's coming from.
It's this fan.
In the middle of the room.
It's like horses.
Your heater. My heater. What? Is the fan?
I think it was the fan.
All right.
We're all.
No more fan.
More fan. Thank you.
I just finally got a solution. They're not setting it. All right.
Good government at work.
All right.
Found it.
All right. Sorry about that. Oh, you can hear it too?
So it's like.
I don't want to put it under me. All right. All right, go ahead, sir. The floor is
So,
yours.
I am the attorney for the Heron Harbor Master Association. This is actually the second time I'm appearing before the board and submitting this proposal or this request. The first time was back in September, introduced it, addressed it. There were some questions and concerns that were raised. I did my best to answer those questions and concerns in a memorandum that was issued to the village and I believe circulated and included in your packets. The request is simple. We, as the Master Association, are proposing a project whereby some, not all, some of the sub-associations within the Huron Harbor Master Association would like to merge and fall under one umbrella association so that they would have one governing entity instead of the multiple entities that they currently have. It'd be easier for administration, finances, vendors, all kinds of reasons why they would do it. Why we are here tonight and asking the board for not final approval, but just a soft approval, a commitment to work with the association should we take this further, is because the amount of efforts and legal work and expenses it will take to get this done are not inconsequential. It will be, it'll take me the better part of a year. It'll cost a lot of money, a lot of time, and we cannot do anything with this project whatsoever unless the board ultimately signs off on it. Reason why is that the governing declarations for these sub-associations, they have restrictions for the benefit of the village with respect to open areas and stormwater drainage. And those provisions cannot be altered, amended, or repealed unless the village agrees to it. So when we do this merger, these several sub-association declarations will disappear. They will be eliminated. And we cannot eliminate them unless the village agrees to their elimination. Now, the provisions that protect you and that you would want to see, they're not going anywhere. They're just moving from one document, which is the sub-association documents, and they're being moved over to the master association document. So they will exist in their same form. They will just be found in a different document. They will cover the same real estate, the same people living within that real estate. You will have all of the same rights. It just moves from one document to the other. And in order to accomplish that, we need village approval ultimately. We don't want to go down the path where we spend all the time and resources and then have the village look at it and say no at the end of the day.
All right, thank you. Should I just go right to trustee Masek here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll ask the attorney, I'll ask Greg, thank you, Greg, for being here. So basically, people come up to me and you're keeping architectural for units. So everybody's got screwy community written by, where we got all these sub units and everybody's got different architectural agreements. So I think some units don't want their architectural changed. And when you say everybody's going to be under the same agreement, I think that worries people. For all of a sudden, like
Sure.
Unit 4, they don't have above ground pools, and if everybody's under the same structure, then all of a sudden stuff gets plopped in where they don't want it plopped in. The secondary is some units are more money. They get more money in the bank than other units. Is this going to cause because when people look for houses, they look for has there any special assessments been put on the property or the units or whatever? So we want to make sure there's no units getting special assessed because they don't have the resources for this project. Second, but third, I can't count, is when structures go up, it's got to be a cooperation with the village because sometimes stuff gets approved by the village before architectural improvement gets done by the association. So all of a sudden you've got stuff going up that shouldn't be going up because it's not in the agreements of the covenants. So we get goofy fences or we get other nonsense that goes up that shouldn't go up. And the village was on well, if we don't have it in 30 days, we have to grant permits. And that just can't happen anymore. We had that rule, well, we don't get stuff from the association, we have to grant the permit. The permit goes against units covenants. And then we got everybody going, well, how did he get that? And I can't get that. So all this has to be in place. So I get what you're saying, everybody's unity, but it can't be that way when they bought their homes. Everybody, you're still going to have 4 different architectural frames within the units. And I get what everybody's trying to do to lower costs, but you can't put a special assessment on when one unit's been drained of some money and other units might have more money, and people can't lose their architectural agreements within that unit. Does that make sense?
It does, and there are plans to address that. The plan is that the individual architectural restrictions which apply within each sub-association, sometimes even down to the street, will be preserved and recited in their entirety in the new document. So the new document will carry over any existing restrictions in their same exact form. So you're right, one document may have many different restrictions based on where the property lies. I don't know the names of the street, but let's say Maple Street can only have certain kind of construction that will be laid out. Oak Street can have certain kinds of construction that will be laid out. In terms of money, the plan right now is that all of the sub-associations, before this happens, will distribute all of their existing assets amongst their members in proportionate share, so that everybody will go into this with zero. And then those members that owe money to their sub-associations, that debt will carry over and it will be owed to the master association going forward. In terms of what you spoke of the village having some concerns about architectural controls and not having the right time to approve them before it just happens. Well, we have an opportunity to fix this now. If there are provisions that the village would like to see, or any policies or procedures that would make your life easier or better, we have the opportunity to include those in this master declaration before it gets recorded.
I think that's big for the homeowners to put some restrictions on the village. So
Mhm.
people don't have, if it's in the covenants, whatever the covenants shall be down the road, the village is kind of restricted by, we live in an association, we live by rules of association, that you can't, some areas do not allow, certain fences, and we live and abide by those fence rules. That's probably the best example. And all of a sudden, we got goofy fences going up all around that aren't like your neighbor's fence. So you're saying, let me get this straight now. So you're saying a refund, so one's heavy, let's just call it unit 12, has this flush of $50,000. That money will be refunded, and then a bill will go out to every household. That's the plan?
A check would go out to every household.
So I'm misunderstanding that then. Okay.
Yeah. The money that the associations are holding will be distributed so that there will be no money left when this starts.
For like per diem for the homeowners, and then obviously if there's people who owe money to the association, they won't get anything from the.
Correct, and then that debt will carry over to the new association.
Okay, so just kind of do a reset at that point.
Exactly, and then the new assessments will be based on the new master association's budget.
Is the assessment amount going to go up a significant percentage? Is it going to be pretty in line with what they see right now?
I would imagine it's going to be in line with what they're seeing right now, potentially better, because they'll have one set of vendors covering the entire territory. You'll get better pricing if there's one landscaping, one snow removal, you'll get better pricing.
Okay. The other thing, when you draft this document, we just changed our street parking with recreational vehicles. That needs to be included with our ordinances. Also, parking trailers in the backyards. I don't think we get the advantage of, and when we put the management company in place, that was put in place years ago. I've been fortunate to be in the community going on for almost 30 years. It was that was put in place so people aren't basically telling on their neighbor. And we still have that issue of, you can drive down the street and see trailers parked in people's backyards, and people So that language has to be put in there pretty strong, so people aren't sitting there going, I didn't know.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple, there'll be a couple rounds of drafting, and all the associations will eventually have to approve this. So there will be, member review and comment periods and things like that. Members will be able to provide questions, comments, suggestions, things that might have been overlooked. And this is, like I said, it's going to take the better part of a year for this to be completely drafted and go through all the different phases of review and correction.
I know it's a long time coming. I just making sure every architect committee's covered. That should be good.
Thank you, trustee Bluthart.
Just a quick question. I was, in your documents you provided, you discuss the merger plan and it says here a percentage of each unit association's ownership that would need to vote in the affirmative to pass the change. Have those votes have taken place already or not?
They have not taken place already, and there's actually one association that requires a greater percentage than the others just based on their own covenants. And we don't know if that association will ever be able to do it just based on the high threshold that needs to be crossed.
95%.
Okay, because it mentions here that this is it true? Oh, sorry. It's because it says here that this is an all or nothing situation where one association failing to approve would doom it for all others.
I don't think that's the case.
Hold
Well,
on. So
it's in your old business and then
because just for point of order, because there's people on Zoom and can't hear out here, let the attorney answer. Just because obviously trustee Pierce can only hear what's being said there, and if there's clarification, feel free to come up to the podium. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't believe that it's an all or nothing situation. I believe the plan is that most, if not all, the associations will eventually join this merger plan. But if one or two elect not to or cannot secure the votes needed, I don't see that it's going to doom the entire plan.
That's all. I have
Okay.
no objection to this, and as long as the residents have their say in it, that's all
Sure.
that matters. to me.
So I think, you guys are obviously get the votes and move ahead. And I think that's what you're looking for tonight from us, that we will follow what the association desires.
Your
Trustee
Honor.
Pierce? Yep.
Just real quickly, I think we do need to, follow, as you say, what the association desires. But I think we need to be careful on one point that Trustee Masick brought up, which is the village's permitting process. If I remember correctly, there was a time period where the village wouldn't approve anything unless the association approved it first, and somebody took us to court in Pine Hill Lakes and won their court case that the village permitting process has to be followed. If the association doesn't act on the architectural review. And I think the compromise we reached at that point was we had our permitting process, but the permit applicant had to prove that they had submitted to their HOA if they have an effective or an active HOA. And then the HOA had a time period to respond with either a yay or a nay. And if they didn't respond, then the village would follow its permitting process. And so I think we need to be careful that we control our permitting process and we don't let the HOAs control it, but we continue to find a way to work with the HOAs on permitting.
Sure. And 90% of these documents all say 30 days, and after 30 days of silence, it's considered an approval or waived by the association. So that's probably the language that's in there.
Correct. They also say that you can't do anything in violation of any law. So if you build something without a permit, that would be a problematic as well.
All right. Any other discussion on this? All right. Well, thank you for hanging in there for so long.
Sure.
All right. We will move along to item number 4, discussion regarding amendments to the employee handbook related to vacation payout policy. Administrator Gutchow. You don't have to stay, guys. You don't have to sit there.
Good evening. So this matter comes back before the board for further discussion. As you recall, back in October, the board undertook a debate regarding the employee vacation carryover and payout discussion. As we've seen over the years, particularly with senior staff in some positions more than others, it's difficult for employees to use all of the vacation that they accrue. Not necessarily because they don't want to use that vacation, but because of their commitments to their positions and their commitments to making sure that they're servicing the community in the appropriate manner. Speaking within the management level of the police department, that was one primary area of discussion. It was the 4 command level officers within the department. Keeping in mind that we're seeking to try to find some sort of equitable balance within the departments. I don't think that it would be, I don't like to use the word fair, but I don't know it would be equitable to have different vacation carryover policies between different departments. Also considering the fact that when an individual takes a management position, we try to make efforts not to have them move backwards with the benefits in which they receive. So the balance we're suggesting that the board take under consideration in many ways is going to mirror what the current collective bargaining agreement within the police department allows, with the difference in the cap of the amount of payout. So under the current collective bargaining agreement, an officer that's covered by the agreement can carry over up to 3 weeks of accrued time. Anything they have above and beyond that, they're paid out at the end of the year, regardless of how many hours or weeks that is. Understanding that we want to encourage our employees to use their vacation, we didn't feel that allowing that unlimited cap has been the case in years past on a case-by-case basis was appropriate. So we're suggesting that employees continue to be allowed to carry over one time their accrual rate, but be allowed to cash out for compensation up to 120 hours of accrued time in excess of that rate. Using last year's scenario, that would result in a cost savings to the village of about $12,000 if that was reduced. But again, we wanted to introduce something that we thought was equitable for the board to consider and at least put it out there as a starting point for any discussions that you may have.
All right, discussion this side of the board. Trustee McNeil.
Yeah, so I agree that our village staff is really hardworking and a lot of them will forego their own personal family time to fulfill their duties on the village. And I like the idea of compensating for them for that. But one of the concerns I brought up to Director Torres was just if everybody did this 120 hours, which I know the police has, and we want to make things equitable, where does this put us financially if everybody exercised this? And I know, she couldn't say for certain, but she had some concerns about, oh my gosh, if everybody did this, could it harm us? So I would just like the board to consider, do we want to agree, to the full 120 hours? I don't know what's right or wrong. I think it's good in theory. I just don't know financially where that would put us if everybody exercised that amount. I don't know if there's something less that would be workable. I'm curious to what the other board members have to say as well.
Yeah, and just one point to bring out. Certainly this isn't impacting every employee. Last year we had 19 non-union employees that took advantage of this at the generosity of the board. And maybe I don't always look at these things in the right perspective, but one thing to consider is at some level the cost is going to balance out. Whether or not an individual employee takes a week at a time vacation, they're being paid not to be here and provide the service. Same scenario, they're repaying the same amount at the end of the year under a payout scenario as well. And again, just trying to strike that balance between what's fair and equitable for the employee, encouraging them to take their time off where appropriate, but also understanding there are certain positions in the village that just make it very difficult. The village board recently approved MLK as a holiday, and I can tell you that some members of my staff that are outside of the union had to put some hours in that they weren't paid for. So it's just trying to balance that. And it's not just the police department. We have some of the same issues in other departments, public works, some of the drivers, more senior staff. Dennis, for example, one of our most dedicated employees, same type of scenario. So again, whatever the board endeavors to do, I would just encourage you to take that equity into account and try to balance it out so we're not disincentivizing people, particularly within the police department, since it's the only union shop that we currently have within the village, to further disincentivize them from wanting to advance and move into a management or leadership position.
Thank you.
Please.
Well, my opinion when it comes to personnel is always a concern because the numbers just go up. In any entity, it's going to be the same issue. There's nothing new for Village of Antioch. But I do want to add to what Jeff is saying that you already have these numbers in the budget. They're already existing for the last 2 years. You're not adding something to the budget based on the calculations, and the example that I used was the current payouts we had in December. That number will reduce by 12,000 because you're no longer going to have these excess payouts on people that have been here forever, that have over 300 hours. Now we're not going to have that anymore. So the impact will be a reduction to the budget because it's already been in your budget for the last 2 years.
All right, thank you. Trustee Pierce, do you have a question?
No, I really struggle with this one. I don't really have a question. I just struggle with it because I live in a world where I get 180 hours use or lose. I don't get paid for my unused vacation time unless I'm leaving my job. Then they only pay me for the amount that I've got left from that year or whatever, not the 120 hours I can roll over, 200 hours I can roll over if I've been around long enough, like some people. So it concerns me because money's going up and up and up and up and up, and we're being awful generous with our vacation time, and we're encouraging people to stay at work and not to vacation like they should to take care of their families. So I really struggle with this one. I know we're a public entity and we ask a lot of our employees and they do a lot for us, and we try to show our appreciation, but is our vacation policy the right policy for our taxpayers? I don't know. So this is one where I got to trust the wisdom of the entire board because I look at this from my viewpoint, and I think we're being way generous.
All right, thank you. Any on this side?
Yeah. I can remember years past, we've had people, when they retired with 6 months of vacation time, 8 months of vacation. It just accrued. And then when they're on our payroll for months before they're basically said, oh, I'm done. But the advantage this has is just the option with especially in command, you don't know their back life story, where if they do have to work, they might have family medical issues or so they don't take a vacation, that they want to accrue some extra money to pay those expenses. So they decide to work and accrue that vacation time. You don't know the back end story, and they can sit there and say, I'm going to go I'm going to start looking for a job. Good people. I'm going to look for a job to make $2 more an hour because I got to take care of a family member. Where we have a program like this, it gives them the option to stay here, and that gives them the choice. I mean, it's 12,000 a year versus what we used to spend for 6 months. I remember it was more than 6 months on the one guy that I know that he was on for a long time, but and he was just a patrolman. So this is really makes a lot of sense.
Trustee Peterson?
In the job that I have now, if I don't use my vacation time, I lose it. However, with the village, it's a little bit different. There are people who work for this village that they can't take time off in the summer. we expect them to be at every event that we have. So when are they going to take time off? I mean, they can't do it. So, and the police department's the same way, or non-union. So w- we've got people saying, no, 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 you have to work and you have to be here. And we want all the public works trucks to block all the entrances to the parade because, you know, God forbid something happens. We want them there. We demand that they're there, and now we're telling them to go on vacation. I think this is a great plan, and I think it's a solution to something that kind of got out of hand. It's great. I'm all for it.
All right, so I don't want anyone else want to speak, obviously, but I think we need to move this along to our next board meeting for just to get this approved so people can know what's going to happen or disapproved and figure out the budgetary impact. So can we move this to the 14th meeting? If anybody has an objection, please speak up. All right, yeah. We'll all be together, Ed.
Yeah.
All right.
Together. What do you got?
All right. Any other business to discuss? I am requesting a brief executive session regarding personnel with no business to take place after executive session. Do I have a motion in a second? Motion trustee Mason.
Second.
Second trustee Peterson. All right, motion to adjourn.
So
Roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
Nail.
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson.
yes.
6 voting yes. Meeting is adjourned at time 9:35. 8. No, yeah, no, you do executive session with no business to take place afterwards.